Let's talk about one of the sickest tropes in all of anime and manga. In battle series, it's almost inevitable that some kind of power system will develop. People get superpowers, strange abilities, bio enhancements, magic, whatever your system is based around, and authors get the chance to introduce all kinds of flavorful characters with a wide range of wacky or downright mind-boggling abilities. But almost always, a character will appear with a certain popular archetype. The character is in a tracksuit while everyone else has gear or uniform. The guy who barely seems to care at all, or maybe just cares way too much. A character without powers in a world full of them, who gets by simply punching his enemies in the face. The most powerful of the powerless. The basic archetype follows this. A character who operates outside the boundaries of the power system, usually because of some inverse disability or simply a decision to choose otherwise. While they forego all benefits that may come from the power system, they instead go all into physicality, as if putting all your stats into strength, speed, and defense, and they win fights through pure hands or martial arts alone. If written well, while a badass, the utility that the character has lost access to should be clear. Maybe they won't be able to see the abilities other characters use, or they'll lose access to some basic utilities that even the weakest fighters should have access to. However, in return, they will almost never lose a close quarters hand-to-hand fight. In today's video, I'm going to break down this trope as a whole, going over some popular examples and what makes them so great, while also dissecting what makes this trope so interesting and how it can be properly incorporated into stories. Of course, I can't go over every possible example, so feel free to comment some examples of your favorite instances in which this trope is used. And without further ado, let's get into the video. All men are created equal, an age-old adage that describes the equal rights of all men. Because in real life, while one may be slightly stronger and one may be slightly smarter, the differences between men are not so vast that there is an inherent superiority between us. However, in a fictional world, this is not the case. Unlike in real life, there are fundamental and undeniable superiorities that come from differences in ability. If I could simply make 1 bullet per day, while you are a nigh untouchable god, would we be equal? Probably not. In the real world, even with the minute differences between people, they still find a way to place themselves as superior. Thus, it's only natural that with such a palpable difference between people in a fictional setting, that societal systems of arrogance and egotism would be born as a consequence. Add the factor of clans, blood lineages, and special families into the mix, as most fictional settings often do, and it's almost inevitable that the inequality of man becomes a central theme. And that's where this archetype comes in. According to the standards of the world they live in, this character should be weak, powerless, worthless trash, forgettable, and with no influence in the slightest. But despite all of this, almost to say f you to the world they live in, they still kick ass anyway. One of my favorite, more recent examples is from One Punch Man. In a world with telekinetics, genetic cyborgs, and superhumans who have trained to the point of, and let's be honest here, and ironically having superpowers, the Hero Association represents a hierarchical structure of elites, literally giving ranks so that the disparity between them is made even more clear. And even outside of just the Hero Association, there are all sorts of monsters lurking to bring ruin, some strong enough to destroy entire cities, and others who threaten the safety of the entire world. And then there's Saitama, who realistically should just be a relatively fit young adult male who sometimes likes being a hero for fun. His priorities are making it to the grocery store in time for price cuts and having enough to put on his plate for dinner tonight. From that description, where do you think he stands in all of this? Would you ever guess that he's the single strongest person in the entire world? One Punch Man has several themes, from the desire to find meaning in one's life to what it means to attain true absolute strength. But one of the primary themes displayed by Saitama's character is humbleness. Despite his immense strength and capabilities, Saitama never goes out of his way to place himself above anyone else around him. In a world where people's heads are so far up their own asses that they cannot recognize the literal god of destruction in front of them, he is the only one who stays grounded, despite being so above it all. His solution to deal with all his problems with just one punch while everyone forces in over-the-top solutions, really sticks out more, almost as a message to the reader that, when dealing with tough situations, having faith in yourself and taking the clear path might be better than overcomplicating the whole thing and being back where you started. Another example of this trope is that of Toji Fushigoro. Jujutsu Kaisen's world is one in which horrible, unspeakable actions produce positive results. Put simply, it is a world that rewards cruelty. Abandoning one's humanity and moral values is the only way to get ahead. So things such as hedonism and even selective breeding can produce good results. Born into an elite sorcerer clan that values strength above all else, Toji Fushigoro, who was born without a lick of cursed energy, the fuel for the versus power system, was treated from trash from the get-go. See that scar next to his lip? That's from being thrown into a pit of monsters at an extremely young age. Growing up to despise that environment and its values, Toji eventually became known as the Sorcerer Killer, using his vast physical abilities and impressive tactical intellect to begin killing sorcerers for money. Unlike Saitama, who uses his strength selflessly in noble acts of heroism, Toji instead decided to rebel against it, though not to the same extent as someone else in the story. In a way, Toji Fushigoro and Gojo Satoru are almost perfect parallels of each other. The former is shunned child who failed to meet his clan's expectations, possessing no cursed energy nor technique and living a lonely, unwanted existence. Meanwhile, the latter lived his entire life loved and blessed, possessing every inherited strength his clan possessed while surrounded by loving family and friends. In spite of this, in their initial clash, Toji comes out on top. There are many factors that influence this victory, from careful planning to flawless execution. However, Gojo's own hubris might have been the leading cause of his defeat. Faith in his own abilities overshadowed reason, and for the one who had gone his entire life believing himself the strongest, the idea of losing was an assured impossibility. Toji took wonderful advantage of this, and in Gojo's brief moment of distraction, landed the decisive blow. Thus, the rule of the match is set. Hubris always loses. Although meant to die, on the brink of death, Gojo receives yet another blessing, leading to a second confrontation. At this point, Gojo represents everything Toji tries to deny, the pinnacle of all clans and of the entirety of the Jujutsu world. To defeat him here is to reaffirm his sense of self. But it's this pride that causes his eventual downfall. Remember, hubris always loses. In this moment, the victor is decided, not because he's Satoru, but because he is Gojo, using his clan's secret technique to deal the finishing blow, working as a setup for that iconic question.
Do you think you're the strongest because you're Satoru Gojo? Or are you Satoru Gojo because you're the strongest?
Just what are you trying to say?
If I were able to become you for a moment, this foolish idea would become a lot more grounded and real, don't you think?
Toji's character is used to highlight the inequalities of the Jujutsu world and the inescapable clutch of power those at the top have. Put simply, no matter how much effort you may make to climb, there are differences between men that make it impossible to reach that pinnacle. But Rock Lee is one who denies this idea. On first introduction, Lee approaches Sasuke with one set goal in mind: to prove that hard work can exceed genius. On one side, you have Sasuke, a member of a clan of ninjas blessed with incredible proficiency in all forms of jutsu, countless great shinobi having come from his clan. Their stable technique is their powerful ocular jutsu, the Sharingan, which allows them to analyze movements at a precise level, copy ninjutsu, use powerful genjutsu, among other things. Don't even get me started on all the shit they unlock in Shippuden too. Lee, on the other hand, is incapable of using any other form of jutsu except taijutsu, a form of jutsu that is entirely composed of martial arts techniques and physical awakenings. Lee's inability to use any other form of jutsu is a pretty decent parallel for some forms of disability, as unlike earlier mentions in this video, Lee gains nothing in return for being so powerless and is forced to take what every other ninja can utilize and then take it to its full potential in order to keep up. Though, in spite of this apparent drawback and disparity between the two fighters, Lee still absolutely wipes the floor with Sasuke, proving his point to some degree. The culmination of this idea appears in his fight against Gaara, someone who has received overwhelming blessing and ability, none of which they have put any real effort to obtain. It's honestly one of my favorite fights across the entire series, even counting Shippuden, as Gaara, who has grown his entire life up to this point, never being fazed by the efforts of anyone, is forced to face the reality of strength that Rock Lee possesses once he begins breaking through his impenetrable defense. While the story of hard work beating genius would be a satisfying one, Rock Lee instead loses. Again, we are presented with the simple fact that sometimes, no matter how much work someone puts in, their efforts may be in vain. Hard work does not guarantee success. However, unlike the story of Toji, which ends on a sour note of overwhelming genius triumphing in the end, Rock Lee's ability to shake Gaara so deeply to his core was uplifting enough, both to the characters and the audience, to prove Rock Lee's point right. While hard work does not allow you to achieve anything, through it you may begin to grasp at even goals once thought impossible. That is, for the most part, the allure of these types of characters. The fact that they spit in the face of those deemed to be higher than them and still claw their way to the top in spite of this. That defiant bravado is what makes these characters so cool. Thank you for watching the video. If you liked it, I would gladly take a like and a subscribe too if you want to see some more stuff from me. I know you may be wondering where Maki is, and trust me, I did want to talk about her, but I also wanted to do a video without delving into manga spoilers so more people could comfortably watch all the way through. Though feel free to talk about her in the comment section below, with a spoiler warning of course. I know JJK fans are kind of bad at that, but at least try. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.